I hear you got the new shit. What is this? I already got this. I already have this.
No, this is some new shit. We good? Yeah?
That's right. New shit. I always love new shit. In the video was also another YouTuber, Tyler. I think he goes by Tyler Eclectic. I'll leave a link in the description down below. I highly recommend checking him out. He's a very nice guy. He's been helping me film a little bit here and there for some of these videos. So what this is the IE-Magni. Now let me explain the IE-Magni a little bit. So basically this is a lot like the Magni Heresy. It's an op amp like the Magni Heresy is. It is the third of their line of 3 right now. They have the 3 Plus, the Heresy, and then the IE-Magni. Now this one is priced at $20 more. So it's $120 rather than $100 for either the 3 Plus or the Heresy. And what makes this one a little bit special is something called negative gain. And to understand negative gain, we first got to talk about unity gain. Now unity gain sounds complicated, but it's very simple. Unity gain simply means that the input voltage and the output voltage are the same. They're equivalent on the input and the output. Now, positive gain would mean that you have a higher output voltage than you did an input voltage, and negative gain would mean the opposite of that. So a lower output voltage than an input voltage. Now, the way that you can kind of think about this is that a Magni historically has been a powerhouse for $100. It's been a very powerful 2.4 watt amplifier into 32 ohms, and this one is also that. And it's been known to be a very strong amplifier that can push really difficult to drive headphones. That's basically what makes it such a good option for the $100 price tag. What they've not been particularly known for is subtlety or nuance, and that's something that the IE-Magni is trying to change. So with all that being said, with the negative gain option that you do have in the low gain setting on this, what does this actually allow you to do? Well, it provides a greater usable range of volume for a wider versatility of headphones. So you can run super efficient IEMs on this, and you can run super difficult to drive planar magnetic headphones and everything in between. And it's going to have a lot of volume control, and a lot of volume specificity, and enough power and enough subtlety on both ends to handle everything smoothly. That's basically what this is doing. So if you're not up to speed, it seems like Schiit's master plan here is just to eliminate any reason for any person not to buy a Magni. And even though I have very, very good high quality amplifiers that I actually use with IEMs personally, I actually went out of my way to purchase this rather than asking for a review unit, just because I like what they're doing here, and I intend to use this thing for IEMs. Okay, so now to talk a little bit about DAC pairing. I think if you're looking into this as your first amplifier, you're going to be curious about a DAC. Do you need a DAC for this? You do, but I have a couple of suggestions. You could spend $100 more on what is considered to be the obvious choice for a DAC pairing with this, which is going to be the Schiit Modi. The form factor looks a lot like this. It's a paired device, right? It's supposed to be built together. But I do have a workaround and something that you could do in the meantime until you decide to upgrade to a DAC. And that would be a RCA to 3.5 millimeter and an iPhone or USB-C Apple dongle. Hear me out here. I know this is controversial. This thing is the most underrated piece of technology in all of the audio world, I think. This thing actually measures incredibly clean. The downside to this thing is, one, it's not built particularly well, but you know, it's $10. But it doesn't have a lot of output, and that's where the Magni comes in. Now, I would still personally suggest getting the Modi, but this is going to be for somebody who's kind of just barely dipping their toe in. There's a little wary of what the benefits are actually going to be, and they want to try things out one at a time. Rather than investing the $220 for both, you could just get this and an adapter for like 10 to 15 bucks, and you can just try it out and see if you want to step up your game a little bit. It's kind of like an in-between step, but something that I think a lot of people should try and should consider if they're looking at this. Okay, so as far as what is the same, the general build and chassis construction is about the same. They all weigh just about a pound. They all have this metal container that they're placed within. They all have kind of a similar layout. They've got the RCA inputs, the high and low gain switch. Now this one actually has 3 stages, high, medium, and low. And then of course your pre-outs, which are also RCA, power switch, and then your volume knob and headphone output out the front. They're very simple devices. They haven't changed basically since day one. The IE-Magni will only come in this color scheme though. So it's got the gray on the sides and the bottom and the back, but it's got the black face and the black top. That's kind of this all-in-one metal piece. The Heresy only comes in black and red, and the 3 Plus comes in this color scheme and the classic silver. So you are stuck with this color scheme if you do want to get the IE-Magni. Okay, so let's talk about some sound impressions. This thing is it's very good. It's very, very good. There's not really much more to say about it than that. I don't have any major complaints or anything, but I do want to describe the sound and I want to explain why it's so good. And for the cost of this thing, it performs really well. Okay, so there's this problem that I typically run into with high-powered amplifiers, which this is a high-powered amplifier, and IEMs. This is a common problem that not many amplifiers have the solution for, and the problem is jumpiness. They have this sense of energetic kind of jumpiness behind the sound. It always sounds like the sound is a little bit overly dynamic compared to what it should be. And it seems like it's only in certain spots of the sound. So sometimes you'll hear like the mid-range won't have the dynamics, the bass won't have the dynamics, but the treble is going to be overly dynamic relative to the mid-range and the bass response. Good amplifiers for IEMs and good amplifiers for headphones will level out all those dynamics so that they're all equally dynamic and you get a good dynamic range in all frequency regions from your amplifier. Now, with that being said, there are a few amplifiers that do this really well. The Topping A90, the A30, and the A50S. Those all have great performances for IEMs in terms of dynamics, but none of those cost $120. Now, to be honest, the Schiit Heresy was already getting good at this. I already felt like the Schiit Heresy was a good sounding amplifier with IEMs. I had no complaints about it. And this just kind of improves on an already good design for not that much extra cash. So now this has what I consider to have proper dynamics for IEMs. And of course, it scales with bigger and more demanding headphones like all the other Magnis do. Now, the main things that I've been comparing this to have been the A30 Pro from Topping and the Topping A90. Now, those are kind of my reference for IEMs, right? Those are kind of like the benchmark of other things to compete against. And I noticed a slight tonality difference between this and the A90, but to be honest, I don't think I'd be able to blindly tell you which one was better. I think I could tell the difference in a blind test, but I don't know if I could be like, this one seems to be much more expensive than the other one. Certainly not by a factor of 5 times more expensive, which is how much the A90 costs. So the sound performance here is wonderful. To test, I was using a little bit over this thing's price category, but just to kind of get an understanding and a baseline of what this is supposed to sound like, I listened to the new IE900 from Sennheiser, the Fur M5s, which I'm a huge fan of, and of course the Empire Ears Odin, which are all top of the line IEMs for their companies, and they sounded awesome. Now, what I felt like this amplifier was good at was all the things that those IEMs are known to me to do well. This performed all those tasks very well. So the IE900 has exceptional bass response. This didn't muddy or dull or lose clarity in the bass response at all. It seemed clear, it seemed vibrant, it seemed well textured like the IE900 should. The Fur M5 had excellent details and sound staging. I didn't feel like it was detail limited by this amplifier, which it shouldn't be, and it's not. And the Odin just has some of the best mid-range available in the market today. And the tonality of this was exactly what I have come to expect from that headphone. And I think at the end of all my testing, one fact to me stood out the most, which is that my opinions on all the gear that I tested this on, none of my opinions changed. I felt the exact same way about the products as I did when I was coming from the A90 and the A50, and I felt like all my conclusions were identical. What I would like to use this for personally, just like my own use case of this specific device, is going to be reviewing IEMs that are sort of in the, I would say, the lower half of price. So like kind of $500 and under. I was using a Topping A90, but that's like a $500 amplifier. And then I was using like a 700 DAC on top of that. So, basically $1,100 of amplification to review, something like the Moondrop Aria, which is like $80. That's not a realistic system that somebody purchasing the Arias is going to be listening on. They're usually going to be listening with something kind of like this, or even their phone. It's going to be gear that's sort of equivalent in price. You don't see people usually having these wide varieties of like $2,000 amplifiers with, $100 headphones. All right, so Magnis have really these last few years been excellent choices for $100. Now you have another option at $120. A little bit of buying advice. Would I recommend this? I think it just depends on what you're running, right? Like if you're running a bunch of full-size headphones and no IEMs, I would save the 20 bucks and just go with the Heresy. You're gonna get equivalent performance for those headphones, and there's no benefit really to going with this. Now, if you run a mix where you have tons of headphones, tons of IEMs, or you wanna really get into IEMs and you want a decent performer for IEMs, this might be worth the extra $20 in that scenario. I would personally not hesitate at all to recommend this to somebody who had a lot of IEMs. I think this performs very admirably all across the board, from efficient IEMs to full-size headphones. So I think that's gonna be where I land on the IE-Magni. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Until the next video, my name's Josh, signing off. Peace.